Hello guys, let's today start talking about automation in Salesforce, and exactly, let's start learning how to build our first simple flow. And immediately let's go to our simple example. Let's open our organization and let's check our Salesforce School application we created in the previous video. Please check if you didn't. So we have students, lessons, and we have student lessons records here. We have a bunch of students. Let's open a student card, and on related tab we can see the assigned lessons for this student. For this purpose we built junction object student lesson, which connects a student card with a lesson card. Please see previous video if you didn't. We're gonna do some automation, but first we need to create custom fields on this student lesson record. Let's find our object, student lesson, here it is, and we create new custom fields. We go to fields and relationship, and we can see some predefined Salesforce fields and two fields we created on the previous lesson. It's a reference to the lesson and a reference to the student. Junction object connects the student record with the lesson record, right? Now we're gonna make this object more informative. We wanna add information like when student started the lesson and when student ended the lesson, and in which status currently the lesson for this student. First, we add status field. For this one, we create new field of pick list type. Select pick list. This type allows us to set a list of predefined values. So we call it status. Here are the options to use global or enter value. As we don't have yet any global value set, we need to select enter value. First, when lesson assigned to student, it will be a new status. Then, when student starts learning this lesson, the status would change to in progress, and when student completes lesson, it is changed to completed. 3 options in this pick list. Click next. Leave visibility, included in the page layout by default. Here's the status field, and here we have these options, and let's mark this new value as default. For this we added new value, check this checkbox, and here it is. We can see the default value is new. Let's create a couple of dates fields. Type of date. Next, first field would be start date, and it's gonna be filled with the current date when student starts the lesson, right? Click next, set visibility by default. Click next, include it in the page layout, and let's create one more date field. It will be end date, date type. Next, let's call it end date, the date when student ends the lessons and send it to teacher to mark its results. Next, visibility again default, again by default included to the record page, and save it. Now we have all the fields we need for this student lesson junction object. Okay, this is the end date, start date of type of date, and the pick list status. And now let's return to our user view. Let's open some lesson, and we can see one student is assigned to the first lesson. Let's create one more record. Let's assign this first lesson to another student, and we'll see how these new fields work. Can you see the status field is by default pre-filled with the new value? We didn't write anything, we didn't fill anything, it's already done for us because we set the default value. Here is the new record, this student number 5 assigned to the lesson number 1. Let's open the student lesson tab, and we also can see all the assignments here. Let's make this list view more informative now, adding our newly created field. We click Select Fields to display, and we add here what we add our status, we add our dates. Before we had only reference to the student and reference to the lesson here, and now we add our new information, our new field we created. Let's check it. Yes, and we can see the status already predefined for all as new. No one student started yet, and please note that we pinned all list view. It's useful stuff because otherwise you would see recently viewed records, which is not really informative. And all list view we customized with our required fields. When students start lessons, what we need to do? We need to put the status to in progress, right? And we also need to set the start date. We can do it in list view, or else need to dive into this card of this lesson student and update the record here, put in progress, put the start date, and save this longer action. And when student completes this lesson, we would need to change the status to complete and manually set the completed date and save. This is how we manually manage this process for student to pass lesson. Let's automate a bit. We want to build a flow. Go to setup, enter the flows in the search box, and here we have the flows page. What we want to do? When a status changed to in progress, we want to automatically set the start date, and when lesson changed to completed, we want to automatically set end date. Click new flow. Here we suggested to create flow from scratch or from template. Select from scratch, and there is several types of flow, but we would use record triggered flow. This type of flow you will be using in 90% of your automation. This is the most popular one because we need to launch our process when record is updated. And here we can see the start element of the flow automatically created. We need to select an event when this flow is triggered. We want to trigger it when our lesson student lesson record is updated. So we select updated, and we need to find this object, student lesson. Here it is by search. So when the student lesson is updated, we want to automatically launch our flow. Now we want to put some conditions because we only need it to be launched when the status is changed. If some other fields are changed, we don't need to launch this flow. So let's select formula evaluates to true because we need to only launch it when the certain field is changed. Here we select the current record, right? And the certain field we are interested in status field changed. We select this, and can you see in this field of formula we already see the code for this certain field. Now we need to find is changed function. We go here, it's an advanced functions, but by search we can find it is changed. And let's take this field already created for us, code for this field, and insert it instead of placeholder for the field. So we have this formula is changed record status, which means when the status is changed, this formula is evaluates to true. So all we need this condition is done, right? And here we have an option every time record is updated or only when record is updated to meet criteria. When you use formula as we did, only first option is for us. Only first option. The second option wouldn't work for formula, right? And here we have the mistake that nothing happens between start and end. We know this. Let's add our second element. We want to update record, right? We want to set up dates, but it's too early for now. For now, we select the decision element. Let's see why. Decision means depending on condition, there are several branches of flow go further. So let's name it what is the status. That means we check if the status is progress, right? Or if the status is completed. And different fields need to be updated depending on which value is selected for the status. And here we can see this new outcome. We're going to set up two outcomes, actually, in progress and completed. Let's name it in progress. And the condition would be, we select current record triggered, record start status, operator is equal to, and select from list in progress. So when this field value equals in progress, this branch would go, this outcome in progress would go. And let's add one more outcome the same way for completed value. We name it completed. We again select the current record, triggered record, status field, the same field, but value would be the different, would be completed. Let's check our flow. Here is in progress outcome, and we're gonna add an action. In case it's in progress, we want to update record, right? We want to set start date. Let's name this element start date, and we're gonna use the record triggered flow, of course, and we select the field start date. Here you should select this flow option, and you can see the current date option is here for you. Let's select it. So we set start date to current date. Fine, save it. Let's move to our second outcome, to completed, when status changed to completed, and again add update record element. And again let's name it, set end date this time. Alright. Use this record trigger the flow, and end date, again flow. Again we put it to current date when the status changed to completed. Save it. And we are done, right? Here we also have this default outcome with the third branch. Can you see it? It happens when status changed not to in progress and not to completed, but something else. In this case, we don't need to do anything, so it comes to an end right away. Now we need to activate our flow. Flow is activated, means no errors. This error button doesn't show us notification either. And let's return to our students lesson, our user view. So we can see some student assignments to the lessons. And let's assume one student started this lesson. We put the status in progress and just save it, nothing else. And what can we see? Yes, the start date just set automatically. Cool. And let's assume the student completed this lesson the same day. We put it completed. We save it, and yeah, what can you see? End date also set up automatically. Our flow worked fine. We are done.